In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces carried out a rocket attack on a school southeast of the city of Gaza, killing at least 21 people, including 13 minors. In Lebanon, authorities reported several new Israeli attacks in their territories. In France, left-wing parties and social movements took to the streets to protest against President Emmanuel Macron and the new Prime Minister Michel Barnier. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from TeleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces carried out a rocket attack on a school southeast of the city of Gaza, killing at least 21 people, including 13 minors. According to local authorities, the school housed thousands of displaced families and left more than 30 wounded, mostly children and women. The Palestinian Ministry of Health stated that in the last 72 hours, Israeli attacks have killed 119 people. The ministry added that 5 of its workers were killed in another Israeli attack in the Musba area in southern Gaza. Since the start of the genocide in October last year, the Israeli regime has killed 41,391 Palestinians and wounded 95,760 others.
Without prior warning, 2 missiles hit 3 floors which sheltered the displaced people inside the building. They say there were terrorists or resistance fighters, and I swear to God there were no terrorists or resistance fighters. They are not stationed among civilians. They are only on the borders and not among civilians. Here, they are all displaced.
20 martyrs, including 13 children and 6 women, as a result of the targeting of Al Zaytun School C in Al Zaytun neighborhood. The Zionist occupation forces targeted the school with 2 missiles, resulting in this number of martyrs.
The Palestinian Health Ministry said Israel has killed at least 716 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank since the siege started on October 7, 2023. According to the Health Ministry, among those killed by Tel Aviv in the West Bank are 160 minors, 10 women, and 9 elderly adults. The ministry said that the Israeli attacks have left over 5,750 people wounded, mostly children and women. Humanitarian organizations warn that on average, every day Israel has killed 5 children since the escalation of hostilities in the West Bank. Speaking to reporters at the San Sebastian Film Festival, Spanish actor Javier Bardem spoke in defense of the Palestinian people, expressing his rejection to the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip.
What is happening in Gaza is inadmissible. It is terrible. It is dehumanizing. I believe that the current Israeli government is the most radical in its history. It is committing crimes against humanity. It is committing crimes against international law. Crimes which have investigated by the International Criminal Court.
Spanish actor Javier Bardem called on the governments of the United States, Germany and England to rethink their logic of support to Israel in its attacks against the Palestinian people.
I think that especially countries like the United States, Germany and England need to rethink their unconditional support, in the face of human rights crimes being committed, violations of international law, like prohibiting the entry of food, water, medicine, electricity. As UNICEF has said, for using the war against the children and the trauma this will represent for generations to come.
In other news, Lebanese authorities have reported several Israeli attacks in their territory. On Saturday, Israel launched at least 100 attacks to the Al-Mahmudiyya and Al-Rihan areas in southern Lebanon. According to local media, Israeli army fighter jets continue to fly over Lebanese airspace. Meanwhile, Hamas confirmed the death of 15 of its members and blamed the government of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for the murder of 31 civilians, including 3 children and 7 women. Lebanese Interior Minister Bassam Maulawi said Lebanese security forces are on alert for any suspicious action on the part of Israel.
The country's security situation today is delicate and dangerous. all security agencies must monitor the situation closely and take note of any suspicious movement. We all must be on guard.
Lebanon Interior Minister Bassam Maulawi warned that Israel has killed many Lebanese civilians.
In recent days and weeks, many civilians, women and children have been killed by the Israeli enemy, and we emphasize the need for cameras to monitor any movement in all areas.
In Iran, President Masoud Pezeshkian highlighted the growth in defense capabilities of the country's armed forces. During the ceremony for the beginning of the Holy Week of Defense, the Iranian president pointed out that Tehran's pride is due to the fighters, scientists, and elites who were able to create military competencies. Pezeshkian appreciated the work of the armed forces to maintain peace in the region and honored the memory of those killed in war for the survival of the Islamic Revolution. The president of Iran also referred to the Israeli genocidal regime and its intentions in the region.
If we are united, if we join hands, Israel, the usurper, will not be able to commit the crimes it is committing now in the region.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro highlighted the battle against fascism waged by the Venezuelan people during a phone conversation held Friday with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. During the event, the Venezuelan president expressed his concern for the advance of fascism and neo-fascism in Latin America and Europe and rejected destabilization attempts against his country by the United States and the far right. Maduro also highlighted the expressions of hatred and violence that threaten the peace of the nation. The Venezuelan president also stressed that culture is also a weapon to fight fascism.
There is a debate in the world. I even spoke today with the Secretary General of the United Nations, Secretary General Antonio Guterres. We spoke for about 15 minutes and I fully explained to him the battle we're waging against fascism. We have to call it by its name. It is the devil. Let no one sugarcoat the expressions of intolerance, of persecution, which are typical of fascist projects. We have seen outbreaks of fascism in Europe, practically fascism, neo-fascism, and similar expressions. It is an incredible thing, Ernesto and Hector. It is impressive how neo-fascism, fascism, and its similar expressions are spreading in Spain, cornering democracy in Spain and in Italy, seizing political power in Germany with Nazi expressions, reivindicating Hitler, and stop counting. And the whole international fascists and neo-fascists are targeting the jewel of the crown in South America, Venezuela.
The third and last day of the second edition of Venezuela's International Telecommunication Fair is underway. On the dome of the Polyhedron of Caracas, public and private telecommunications companies, both from Venezuela and abroad, are showcasing the latest technological innovations in products and services ranging from 5G networks to artificial intelligence applications. On Saturday, people attending the fair will be able to enjoy exhibits displayed in a space of 5,000 square meters. According to government officials, this fair will have a positive impact in the country with technology that will enable a more connected future. As we were reporting, the second edition of the International Telecommunications Fair continues, bringing together entrepreneurs, big and small brands, and technology enthusiasts. With more details on the event, our correspondent Gladys Quesada.
Yeah, thanks for the time and the contact here with you and our audience in from the south and for TeleSUR English. Currently, FTS 2024 continues and the activities are rolling out in this last day of activities and events. As we were reporting, this is the last day, but this is a free entrance day, so everyone in the public can come here with their families just for free and enjoy these lights and this spectacle of music and technology that is FTS 2024. we were talking to the organizer, the main organizer of the event, Carlos Silva, and he was telling us that as of yesterday, 18,000 people were, assisting and attending this fair. So they were coming in here. Those are figures that mark a new record in assistance for this kind of events here in Caracas, Venezuela. As I was saying also, we were talking to him, and he told me that yesterday, main companies in Venezuela, as Movilnet, as also the Giselle, CanTV, and others were doing alliances, because one of the main purposes of this fair is to showcase what Venezuela can do in terms of telecommunications, so they can do this kind of nexus, this kind of links and alliances towards finding independence in telecommunications. Let's recall Venezuela is under attack in many of these sectors and in these fronts, and it is paramount and needed to find independence and sovereignty in terms of technology and telecommunications. One of the main objectives is to do software and hardware produced here in Venezuela. I want to tell you also that Carlos Silva, the main organizer of the event, was telling us that yesterday other agreements were signed with Iran, one of the South cooperation's ways here in Venezuela, and also because they were telling us that they have the same objective, the same goal of finding independence in technology and sovereignty also. I want to say you that here today they had the Fusion tournament, which is one way to showcase the abilities and the skills in this new sector that is prospering and that is enhancing and growing for the next 3 years, and that's to say the optic fiber cable. And the installations, those are services that will grow in Venezuela because of the enhancement of new technologies as the 5G connectivity. Also, I wanted to tell you that this is one way to find cooperation and fraternal competence or competitions between the private sector and the public sector, because one of the 7 transformations proposed by President Nicolás Maduro Moros is to find alliances and to find gains in the cooperation between both sectors. He was saying that no one can do it alone, so Venezuela is under the premise of cooperation rather than unfaithful competition. So far, that's the information from the Poliedro of Caracas. As I was saying, over 18,000 people have been touring the fair, but this is not over yet. This is going to move on and continue until late in the afternoon, or maybe in the early hours of the night of today, September 21st. So this is the information. Now I'm giving the signal back to you.
And in Argentina, more than 350 people were evacuated and several homes were affected as firefighters are working hard trying to tackle the forest fires affecting Cordoba. More than 300 firefighters, supported by water-spraying planes, worked this Friday to contain the flames in the vicinity of the town of Capilla del Monte, where the fires intensified due to the extreme drought and very strong gust of wind. In addition, during the day, a man was arrested who was trying to start a new fire by burning grasslands with gasoline. So far this year, 15,000 forest fires have been registered in the province of Cordoba, most of them in the last 3 months, with a balance of 30,000 hectares affected. And on Friday, the government of Honduras declared a green alert for prevention throughout the country due to a drought that will leave rains for at least 72 hours. The Secretariat of State in the Offices of Risk Management and National Contingencies indicate that during the time of the green alert is in effect, the phenomenon which could result in a disaster should be monitored. Honduras is considered one of the countries most at risk from natural disasters, and according to the authorities, vulnerability in the country increased after devastating Hurricane Mitch at the end of 1998, which also affected Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. Let's now take a second short break, but we invite you to join our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, where you'll find different news, our interviews, and other special broadcasting. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. In France, left-wing parties and organizations protested Saturday against President Emmanuel Macron and new Prime Minister Michel Barnier. Demonstrators mobilized as of 2 p.m. in the afternoon throughout several cities in France, denouncing what they consider to be an overly conservative government. They are calling for the resignation of President Emmanuel Macron and voiced their rejection of the new cabinet. Social organizations have expressed their concern about policies that the new government could be implementing on immigration and civil rights, given the names included in a leaked list of ministerial candidates to be appointed by Barnier in the coming hours.
Elections have been held, and those WHO govern afterwards or those WHO lost. This has no equivalent in any democratic regime in the world. Therefore, it is not by stirring up the surface of things, by inventing a Mr. Barnier and having fun for several days with the ACT of the composition of a government will not make us forget the starting point. The starting point is that the left won the election. It's up to them to form a government and propose a program. Mr. Barnier has no future. His promised fate is that he will be defeated in the National Assembly, probably over his draft budget, and that he will fall to a motion of censure if those WHO call themselves the opposition continue to be so.
In Russia, the government reported that air defense systems shot down more than 100 drones in Ukrainian attacks on several regions. The Russian Defense Ministry detailed that the drones were intercepted in 8 provinces, including Belgorod and Crimea. In that sense, the ministry reported that another 16 UAVs were shot down over the Sea of Azov as part of the increase of the Ukrainian offensive. Attacks against oil refineries and fuel depots were also reported in Russia. And in Sri Lanka, the election process for the next president of the nation ended amid an economic crisis that has been affecting the population for several years. On Saturday, the presidential election summoned more than 17 million people to decide on behalf of one of the 38 candidates. The Electoral Commission detailed that as of 2 p.m. local time, more than 60% of the population participated in the polls. At the same time, authorities described the voting process as the most peaceful in the country's history. This Sunday, the electoral body is expected to announce the winner of the presidential elections after several hours of vote totalization. We are from the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thanks for watching.